Hi everyone, welcome back to Law School Gems with Bria. My name is Bria Riley and I am a practicing attorney here in Dallas, Texas for a publicly traded company and their marketing, advertising, and legal group. I'm so glad to be here with you today. Today we are going to be talking about before the exam tips and strategies. Now, I'm not talking about what to study or how to assess your knowledge before the exams. I'm talking about the micro things that people don't even consider or think about until exam day, and then you get overwhelmed when you realize, oh my gosh, I forgot that, or I didn't think about that, right? Those are the things that I want to get you prepared for. But before we dive into that topic, I just wanted to affirm you and let you know that I hope you know that you're kicking butt, okay? You were supposed to be here. Don't get imposter syndrome on me. Don't run away. Don't believe the naysayers. Don't believe the haters. Don't believe the doubters. You just keep believing in yourself and put one foot in front of the other and know that you were supposed to be here. And I'm so proud of you. And I got your back. I'm here with you. I'm going through this process with you. I'm your legal guru. I will not lead you astray. And as long as you believe in yourself, you will not be led astray as well. So without further ado, let's dive right on in.
We are born to win. Come and learn the basics with Law School Gems.
Now, before exam day, there are some things you need to consider and that you need to remember to bring with you, right? So you want to make sure you have your exam number. A lot of people don't realize what an exam number is, but for your first semester of law school classes and for your first semester exams, you will likely be anonymously graded. So you won't be able to put your name on your paper or on your type test, if it's on your laptop or computer. You'll only be able to list your exam number, and that will be your examinee identifier. So make sure you either have this number committed to memory before the exam, or that you are bringing it with you like on a piece of paper or something where you can just quickly reference it. Make sure you also bring your student ID. This is pivotal because a lot of times you will have to check in for your exam, especially if it's going to be in person the way that my exams were. Now, if this is not applicable to you and you know that none of your exams will be done in person, then this may not be as applicable. You may pick up some gems along the way, but this is really for students who are going to be taking in-person exams. And from the experience that I had my first semester with in-person exams, which leads me back to my point about bringing your student ID. Your exam proctor is going to want to see that to check you in to make sure that you are the student you say you are, that you do not have your twin brother or sister in there imposing as you, and that you are actually going to be the one taking your exam. And make sure that you get some rest. Do not spend the entire evening or night or day before your exams to not sleep. Just spend it all studying and doing things at the last minute. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure you bake in enough time to study to where the night before, the day before the exam, you're just chilling. You're getting into grind mode, you're getting into your exam mode, and you're getting into the right mental and emotional headspace that you need to be in order to have the endurance to get through those law school exams, whether it be for midterms or your final exams. Remember to silence or turn off your cell phone completely before you go into your exam, whether it be on a midterm or final, because for some law schools, they are very strict, and if anything goes off, right, you will immediately be escorted out of that exam and not able to finish or complete it. So make sure that all electronic devices are silenced, including your computer, and that you're not creating distractions for other law students as well. Make sure you're not bringing any prohibited materials with you inside of the exam room. A lot of times you can have study aids and study guides and your course books outside of the exam room, like if you're waiting in a hallway or something, and you can put them in your bag, but then you have to leave your bags outside of the exam room in another location, right? Or in your locker or somewhere else. And you can't bring those inside. And you don't want to be the student who's caught with materials inside the exam room, especially if it was by accident and it wasn't purposeful and you weren't trying to cheat or whatever the case may be, because that could also impact whether you can finish your exam. And I don't want that for you because that would just be horrible. So make sure that you don't do that. Make sure that you bring at least 2 pencils, preferably number 2 pencils, or is it number 12? Whatever number it is that's recommended by your professor or the exam proctors. And a lot of times the exam. Pre-information will come before or shortly before the exam is about to take place. Make sure you read all those guidelines and you know for a fact what materials you can bring in the exam room and what will be picked up by the exam reviewer, because a lot of times, like for multiple choice questions, when you have to circle in or bubble in an answer on a fill in the blank sheet or something like that, those answers have to be colored in with certain pencils and not ink in order for them to be registered by the automatic machine that will be reviewing your exam answers after the fact. So make sure you are bringing in the right pencils in for your exams if you have any multiple choice exam questions or you're going to confront those type of exam-like conditions. Also make sure that you have at least 3 blue books, right? So if you're someone who's going to write out your exam answers to the questions, then you want to make sure you have enough paper to do so and that you can write to your heart's content and desire for each question possible within the allotted time so you could get the most points for that exam, right? And so with that being said, you want to make sure you have enough blue booklets that they are readily available and you don't have to stop and get up and go ask a proctor to bring you one or get you one, because that wastes valuable time on the exam. Make sure you have at least 2 ink pens as well, preferably one in black and one in blue, in case you need to notate or write notes in the margins of your exam that's passed out, or in case you need to write out an answer and you want to do so in ink. I do believe they make you do it in pencil, but you know, things change since I've been in law school, so make sure you have those materials available. Make sure that you have highlighters in assorted colors also, right? So the same colors you've been using to identify your issue or your rule or your analysis or your conclusion or your rule explanation, whatever colors you've been using that help you readily identify, yep, that's the issue, or yep, that's the rule, especially when you're reading a lengthy fact pattern and you don't have time to go back and reread it, right? You want to be able to call out that information as you're reading, so that way you can just go back and identify the parts that you've referenced by the highlighted colors. Make sure you bring a box of Kleenex. I know it may sound crazy, but your nose may start running, especially if it's cold in the building where you're going to be taking your exams. So you want to make sure you don't have to get up and run to the restroom if that happens. Make sure you bring a little light jacket, right, in case you get cold, because some people don't do well in cold climates and it will throw off your concentration and your focus. So make sure you have that as well. Make sure that you are going to the bathroom beforehand. I mean, like 5 or 10 minutes beforehand, so you can make sure you are completely ready to go. You don't have a drop left in you, and that's not going to interfere or conflict with the allotted time given to you for an exam. Because oftentimes, some of those exams, y'all, the time given for them, it could take 3 hours, it could take 4 hours. My property exam, my professor gave us 5 hours to sit there and get through his property exam. That should tell you what type of exam it was. But we had 5 hours. I didn't want to move those 5 hours. I think eventually I did take a restroom break in between, because you need to break just to give your mind like a woo-saw moment for a little bit. But for the most part, if you have like a 3-hour exam and you got to get through it and you don't have time to be going to take restroom breaks, that's something you want to take care of beforehand. If the exam proctor or your law school will allow you to bring a water bottle into the exam room, then do so, especially if you know that you get thirsty easily or if that's one of your nervous tics. But don't drink too much, because again, it'll cause you to have to go to the restroom frequently, and you don't want that when you have such limited time to regurgitate all the information you've been studying for the past semester for that one exam, right? Also make sure that you wear comfortable clothes, right? You don't want to be sitting in an outfit that's going to make you uncomfortable and that you're not going to be able to focus and concentrate at your best in. Make sure that any outlines or notes or case briefs or study guides or study aids or materials that you can bring with you inside the exam room and that you can use in order to take your exam, that you have those with you as well. And make sure you bring earplugs. For some people, like having white noise in the background, like people typing, people clicking, people tapping their pencil, people writing, they can't deal with that. And so earplugs will help drown all that out, especially if you go to a law school in a big city like I did in Chicago, and there are a lot of horns honking in the background or like on the street, and you can hear that. If you want to drown all that out, bring earplugs. Now, aside from things to remember to bring and do before the exam day, on the actual exam day, you want to make sure that you don't do anything that you wouldn't normally do any other day. For instance, if you're someone that doesn't eat breakfast, or at least not a heavy breakfast, and on the day of the exam, you just feel like you need all this energy, and the only way you're going to do it is if you eat 1,800 calories. So you got bacon and eggs and pancakes and all of that. That's not likely going to go your way, because your body is not used to consuming that type of heaviness right before, you start your day, or especially before you're about to go take a very long and hard exam. So you want your body to take the exam under the same conditions that it has been used to studying and focusing and concentrating and getting you to this point now. So don't do anything that's out of the normal. Don't do anything on the day of the exam with respect to studying. I know a lot of people like to try to cram, 1 hour before the exam, they're doing flashcards and going over information where they may have a learning gap or whatever the case. I'm here to tell you now, if you don't know it that hour before you go in there to take that exam, you're not going to know it. It's not magically going to appear in your mind and you're going to be able to retain it, especially once your brain gets put in a pressurized environment where it's under a lot of stress, right? So the best advice that I could give you on the actual exam day, in addition to not doing anything that you wouldn't normally do, is to make sure that you are giving your body and your brain a mental health and a wellness break and a rest period before it's about to go into this very long and enduring and arduous exam process. So you might read a newspaper or a magazine, you might listen to a podcast, you might call your mom or your dad and talk to them if that's someone who relaxes you. You may go walk your dog early that morning or go for a little evening jog before the exam is set to begin the next morning, right? Whatever you do to relax you and to get you in your grind mode, your game mode, get your game face on, those are the things that you want to do right before the exam and leading up to the wee hours right before the exam as well. And guys, those are all the tips that I have for you with respect to before the exam day strategies and tips. And I'm sure there's something you forgot about and you were like, dang, I'm right. Or she's right. I'm glad she said that because I wasn't thinking about that. Those are things I did not want you to get overwhelmed or burdened by, because that's a little stuff. You don't want to have to focus on that when you got so much going on in your head already with respect to preparing for your midterms and your final exams. So thank you again for being here. You are already taking the necessary steps that you need to take in order to set you up for success just by watching videos like this. So I am so proud of you. Remember to like and share this video with someone who you think may find it interesting, who is considering law school, who may already be in law school, especially if they're in their first semester of law school, or someone who just may needs a tune-up if they're further along in their legal career or law school journey. And drop in the comments below how your law school journey is going. I cannot wait to hear it. I know you guys are crushing it, especially if you've been following Law School Gym, so I'm really excited about that. And if there's any questions or additional information or supplemental resources I can provide, feel free to let me know. And until next time, I will see you guys again. Bye guys.